Welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. I just did a video surrounding the Caitlin Clark derangement syndrome in full effect after Paige Bueckers and UConn defeated South Carolina to win the 2025 national championship. So make sure you go and check that out. I didn't say much about South Carolina, hardly anything at all. All I said was that I was going to do a separate video on South Carolina. So welcome to separate video. I've watched Dawn Staley for a long time. I've seen her as a player. I've seen her as a coach. I used to really be a fan of Dawn because her intensity on the floor, her passion for the game, you couldn't miss them. There they were. A few years ago, she started with the whole other stuff. I'll just leave it at that. Other stuff that I just couldn't appreciate. And so, not a Dawn Staley fan. However, Dawn Staley was playing against Gino Auriemma, if you will, her team against his team. I'll never root for Gino and UConn. I'm anybody but UConn. So, Dawn Staley got my rooting, really not rooting for, but rooting against. You know how that goes. Anyway, UConn was too much for South Carolina. I don't know if anybody expected the blowout, but then again, I don't know who expected it in the Final Four either. They got to figure out how to make this stuff more competitive, even during the season. Before you even get to March Madness, these scores, these blowouts, you've heard me talk about that before. In any case, here we are. We had a Final Four, blowouts there. We get to the championship game. We're like, okay, who's going to get this win? And if anything, or if nothing, I should say, can we just have something worth watching? That's what we're saying in the live stream. But it didn't take long to figure out that we were not going to get our wish. South Carolina couldn't get jack going. And Dawn Staley couldn't keep it together. And I got to say, I told you, I remember the intense, passionate Dawn Staley. I expect her to be passionate. I expect her to be intense. I don't expect what I saw during that championship game. I felt that the way she presented herself was embarrassing. I felt like it was embarrassing for her as a coach. And it was embarrassing and really not good for her team. Now, of course, I know that this is a championship. I know that you want to win, but there's a way that you present yourself. And I'll get more into that. But first, let's take a look at some of what went on with Dawn Staley. I'm going to go over to X, and all of the links to X will be in the description. All the links will be in the description of this video, as I always do. I'm just not going to stop and say all the names right now. I'll say them right now, and then you can go look. I'm going to show you something on Torres on UConn's page, something on Clay Travis's page, something on John's page. And like I said, the links will be in the description. I just like to give credit where I find stuff. Okay, let's go on over. Now, y'all see what I see. And just in case you don't, let's get closer. I was on the live stream and the camera went on her and I saw that it was just that quick. And I was like, ooh, I just read her lips. And a couple people were like, well, what did she say this? And I'm like, no, that's not what she said. And someone else said, I saw it too. So Torres on UConn said, only, quote, adjustment Dawn Staley has made all game is screaming. You can see what she's screaming. Is screaming, there it is, the F word, while sitting. I'm going to get back to that because I do think that piece is important. What Torres on UConn pointed out. This one also doesn't have any sound. Just watch. So as you see here, the first one I just showed you was real quick. It was just real quick. This one, she actually screams it out. You can't hear it, but you can see her mouth and how long it took her to get it out. So she's really, really elongating that expression. There it is, right there. And this post just has what you just saw in the previous video. This is a still image of Dawn Staley. The score is 53 UConn, 39 South Carolina. And the post says it's the third quarter and Dawn Staley is acting like the game's already over. No trust in her team at all. Let's put this all together. I showed you the one where the comment or the post said that the only adjustment she's made is the F word. That's really important. And if you watch the game, you'll know exactly what we mean. And then the last one I showed you was about third quarter. She's already acting like it's over. Now, it was over. However, you don't know that you know that you know that it's over. Now, you can see the handwriting on the wall, and she commented on that after the game. You kind of see where this thing is going. Nonetheless, this was not the Dawn Staley I expected. I expected to see more fight in her. Now, she was working the officials during the game. She almost got teed up. She was angry, okay? She was livid. And she's working that official. I don't know what she was saying, but if we could read her lips right there. So I don't know if that went toward the officials also as she was walking up the side, up the sideline with him or what. But at some point, I saw that official look at her and say something. And then Dawn said, like, did she put her hands up and she walked away? So I'm imagining, I mean, the official was rather patient. And the official probably said, look, I'm going to tee you up. And then she put her hands up. No. And she retreated. But I didn't expect a Dawn Staley who then lost fire early in the game, really, as was pointed out there on X. I didn't see any adjustments. We always talk about Dawn Staley being a great coach. There were no adjustments, and there were no timeouts. At one point during the live stream, I said, wait a minute. I said, has she called timeout? And everybody started going in, no. And I could not figure out why wouldn't she call timeout at all? When you, to try to just break the momentum of UConn, to try to just refocus your team, because the team was totally out of sorts. The defense, everybody talk about South Carolina's defense. Listen, UConn brought that defense. And as Raven Johnson said, they were like a machine, right? Like a well-oiled machine. UConn was playing really well, clicking on all cylinders, and South Carolina just couldn't adjust. And it got to the point where if South Carolina did manage to get a stop, a lot of times when they went down the other end of the floor to score, they were just jacking up shots. I'm like, there's no such thing as a 9-point shot. Okay, so you can't cut away at a lead by just jacking up shots. They were missing layups and all that, but just, okay, we get a stop on this end, and now what? We go down to the other end instead of running something, because you got plenty of time, but you got to work your plan. Surely you knew that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk. So what do you do when the pressure comes? Just jacking up shots? They were just so overwhelmed, and it wasn't just the youngsters being overwhelmed, but the oldster was, I don't say that disrespectfully, I just mean the one who is in charge. She was overwhelmed, didn't call timeout, didn't say, hey guys, run our sets when there's nothing there. I mean, compete and do so wisely. Didn't see any of that, didn't make any adjustments, just sitting there with what you saw what you saw. I want you to look at this again. I want you to look at her body language again on this one. I mean, look at that. I mean, literally, let me stop here. She literally looks to me like somebody who's in pain, somebody who's constipated. And then after she yells the F word, she's back and forth and rocking and head down, and then she smacks herself in the head a few times. Here it is again. I have to ask you a question. And this is what I was pointing out to those in the chat. And I didn't like have to tell them that. I think we only had like one person who was just like, "Oh, what do you expect? She's losing a championship." I tell you what I expect. I expect, and we expect, those in the chat who chimed in, you expect a coach to make sure that your players believe that they have a chance. That's why on X, John said, like, it's the third quarter and she's got no confidence in her team. I expect you to be aware of your body language. I understand being competitive. I know you want to win. I know the game feels like it's slipping away. But if I'm on the floor playing and I look over at my coach and my coach is rocking back and forth, yelling the F word and smacking herself in the head, it doesn't instill confidence in me. In fact, it works the opposite. You have to be the calming effect. You have to be the one to help them believe. You can't be looking like you about to blow a gasket. You just can't do that. I know you're human. I know you got emotions, but it wasn't just like one instant where that F word came out. Then it was like yelling the F word louder and longer. And it just was a bad look for fans looking at it. It was a really bad look, but it's more than a bad look. It's just bad. It's bad coaching. So as great of a coach as she has a reputation of being, that moment and that display, bad coaching. Your players already struggling. They want to win. I felt like in that moment, it didn't look like it was about the players. It was about Dawn Staley. It was about her dream of another championship. And you, as the coach, you just can't do that. Well, obviously you can because she did, but it was just not good. And it was third quarter, which is a lifetime in basketball. Now, granted, UConn was not, they weren't letting down, they weren't stepping back, they weren't letting the pressure off. So what do you have to do? You have to take timeouts. You can't take the timeouts home with you. Might as well use them. So you got to take the timeouts. You've got to settle them. And if nothing else, you use it as a teaching opportunity. If you really think that it's over in the third quarter, which you should not be thinking, but if you've given up in the third quarter, you at least coach the game. You at least use that as an opportunity to say, this is what they're doing. This is what I want you to do. This is how you work with this. Except, I guess she had nothing. Okay, well, if you don't have, and then she stopped. Notice he said she just sitting. That was another thing. Like at one point, like I said, she was up. She was harassing. I use loosely. She was working the officials, pleading her case, but then she just sat. No adjustments, no timeouts. No, she was asked about that in the post game. And she said that, her assistant coaches, they were trying to figure things out, etc. But if I'm looking over the bench, I need to see some fire. I need to see a coach who believes. I need to see a coach not smacking her head. I need to see a coach not rocking back and forth like she's about to. I don't know. I don't have the expression. Usually these expressions come to me. I don't have an expression there. It just was bad for her team. It looked bad. It looked childish. It looked selfish. And I'm surprised. I know, again, you're a competitor. You want to win. But what we saw right there, not good. Not good. And I hope, I don't know what they talked about. I mean, she said she didn't say much to some people because sometimes the sadness has to settle in. So you learn from it. Well, I hope that at some point she did say, hey, I let you guys down. I let the emotions of it all get the best of me. And it shouldn't have been about me. It should have been about you. Because what we saw there is just not professional. It's not what I expected from the Dawn Staley I remember watching for years. It just wasn't good. Now, she had some reason to be frustrated, right? They couldn't seem to get anything to work. And I'm going to take you over here to the box score quickly. And you can see, not good at all. So if we look here at South Carolina, we see she had 2 players in double digits. It took a while to get there. Joyce Edwards off the bench with 10, Tessa Johnson off the bench with 10, and then you have Chloe Kitts with 9 points. Like, you've got 2 bench players with 10 points, and you got a Chloe Kitts with 9 points and Sanaya Fagan with 8 points, and then you got 2s and 3s and some 5 here, whatever. 9 for Malaysia Fulwiley. I don't know why I want to always put her first and last name together and come up with Falasia. It sounds like a meal at McDonald's. But you didn't have anything here to take care of what was over here. And that is 24 from Sarah Strong, 24 from AZ Fudd. You got nothing to compete with that. I get it. Nonetheless, you got to coach the game. And doing what she did, that body language, that wasn't it. It really wasn't it. What about you? Did you watch the game? Did you make it through the whole blowout? What did you think about what Dawn was doing? Are you like the one person in the chat who felt like, well, I get it, like, she's losing the championship, what else is she supposed to do? Or are you like those of us who said, nah, you're not supposed to do that? If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you have, you know how much I appreciate you and those who are members of the channel. I will catch you next time, God willing. God bless you in abundance.